Welcome to the Estate Professionals Mastermind podcast. This community is about providing value first, and rather than having one interaction, one transaction, and one payday from the work you do, we're here to teach you to build so much more.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Probate Mastery Alumni Mastermind call and the Estate Professionals Mastermind weekly call, Chad Corbett's coaching program. I'm Bill Gross, and we host this call every Tuesday at noon Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern. We also live stream it. I actually record it and put it onto our YouTube channel and website. This is for real estate professionals who are looking to build their business in real estate, whether you're an investor, wholesaler, or a real estate agent. We get together to talk about how to build our income as well as how to build our long-term wealth and equity. And the purpose of this call, I had a chance to talk to Chad yesterday. Actually, we're kind of game planning the upcoming year and where does this call fit and so on. And it's interesting because just to clarify, I'm just a practitioner like you. I mean, I'm a real estate broker in LA. I have a great business. I have 4 pending escrows. I got 2 listings. I need more listings, always need more. But that's my business. I don't really get paid to coach. I do have a couple products I get a little bit, but to be honest, it's just more fun money and to watch how the system works. My real business is selling houses and building my team of real estate agents across the country. And what I reaffirmed with Chad was my ability to say to you, if this isn't right for you to spend money on data or mailing, that I can tell you that because we're not selling data. We're not selling mailing. We're selling that if you help enough other people, you can achieve anything you want in real estate. That's what I'm going to sell you on today. And how to get there: when you start off, you have to invest a combination of time or money. Now, most people, when they're starting or relaunching, don't have access money to invest. And also, most programs for real estate agents and investors underestimate the true cost or time to get your return. If you're going to start a probate mailing program and mail out postcards, most people are honest will say it's going to take 3 to 6 postcards minimum or letters, and more likely 12 months to start seeing return on your investment. The average lead in a real estate campaign comes in about 2 years. And so you'd have to mail out 3 to 6 times each person and make phone calls. Most people don't have the money to wait there when they're starting out. And so it's important that we look at the opportunities where we can invest our time to convert that into success and leverage that. Or if we have an ongoing business, leverage our current business to get more to expand. And how do we do that? That's why we're here, is to share ideas that work. Now, if you have the money to invest in the data, great. And if you have the money to invest in postcards, fantastic. Let's talk about how to be successful with that. But for most people starting out, I had the courage and the opportunity to tell you the truth, which is most people need to learn how to talk on the phone to prospects before they start investing money behind it, because the money you spend normally generates leads that you have to get on the phone to convert. I also want to share with you, before we get started, and the purpose of this call is to be interactive. So I'd love for you to put in the chat box if you're an investor or wholesaler or a realtor and what state you're in. And even better, put your full name, contact info. So if somebody had to do business with you, they can reach out and do business with you. So feel free to put that, if you're watching live on the Zoom call, in the chat box. Love to have you network. I want to share with you 3 thoughts from my coach. My motivational business coach is Grant Cardone. Chad's my probate coach. But Grant Cardone, somebody I came across years ago, and while at first I found his style a little off-putting, I found his message very much on point with where I need to be. And so he put out a post the other day. He talked about, with the change in the economy, they're entering into a period of what's being predicted as a recession nationally. And I think that's true. I think you're going to see overall a recession will be 1 or 2 quarters of reduced growth, negative growth. And I think also in real estate, we're going to find not a crash, but a recession in the industry, in that about 30% of those people who are in the business are going to leave because of a lack of business. Sales are down 30%, and that's going to hurt the bottom half much harder than the top half. And so for me, I've been in this business 36 years. It's not about will I survive, it's what do I need to do to thrive in this market for the future. And he gave us 3 thoughts to think about that are key steps that you need to put in your business, whether it be probate or regular real estate, that I think are really on point to what we talk about. So I wanted to share those before we get started and ask questions. Point number 1 was discipline. In the last market for the last year or 2, I've often said a monkey could sell a house. You could give a monkey a billboard, list with me, put them on Wilshire Boulevard in Los Angeles. Somebody would choose them to sell the house. because the realtors are so busy, they go, oh, wow, there's a sign. The monkey must know something. Let's call and ask him or her. But that's not going to happen going forward. You're going to be disciplined. And I'm catching myself. Discipline on, for example, on listing servicing. Normally, I would be updating my client every single week on all the key metrics of marketing their listing, so that if they want to overprice a property at the end of 30 days, a price reduction is almost automatic. That's because the discipline of doing the work. I've been a little lazy. And when I call a seller this morning, it was not as comfortable as normal. Though my numbers are right and it was time to reduce the price and I'd done all the work, I just hadn't communicated with them. Well, I've earned a little bit of juice from my clients, so they let this one go. But it's a reminder to me, the discipline of selling property requires weekly contact with our clients with the numbers and the data to keep them informed, so that if we need to reduce the price, we've already preset that. But the discipline of doing business development every single day, it's hard. I got to tell you, today was tough. I worked yesterday half a day, Monday being New Year's Day observed. I didn't work during the UFC football game. But the last week or so, I've worked pretty consistently. But I even noticed myself dropping off a bit, my intensity. And today I was here ready to go 8 o'clock, and getting back into rhythm is challenging. But that's going to be the key, is the discipline of whatever it is in your business. And for me, it's business development from 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock. I have to find people either who need to sell a house and choose me, or people who know people who need to sell a house and refer them to me. So what's your daily discipline? Get on that, and that will pull you through this period of time. Number 2 is the new rules of the market. Real estate agents and investors are going to be bombarded with people who can't make it in this market today. What they did worked 2 years ago and a little bit a year ago, and they're all going to tell you how they have a story why they took time off last year, family, health, whatever it is. But now they want to come back and be a coach or trainer or superstar, telling you what you need to do to build your business. And they're going to tell you what they did that no longer works. The rules have changed of our business. Now, I think the rules have gone back to what I would call basic fundamentals, in that you have to use a football analogy. You know, there's fancy football with all kinds of motions and fast, fancy plays and all kinds of movement. And there's also this in the same game where you just have to line up against the other guy and beat the guy across the line. I would call that old school football. I think in real estate, we've gotten out of that and overemphasized perhaps technology and systems. And we've de-emphasized the importance of talking to people, listening to people, communicating and writing effectively to our customers. So the new rules of the game, whatever they are for your business, what are the new rules? Make sure you follow the new rules. And number 3 is you can only do what works. Because I'm doing well and I'm trimming the fat because I want extra money to throw like gasoline on the new fire. But if you're not doing well, you got to trim the fat. You can't do what you've been doing because you've been doing it. You can only do what works. And what works will be a smaller subset, and the margins will be smaller in a more competitive market. So you have to really double down on what's working and really avoid what's not. Now, I know those are generalities, and we could talk about that, but those are the principles, the lens through which we need to look at our business. We've got to be disciplined more so now than the past. We have to learn the new rules, or the rules appropriate for this market, not the rules for the last market. I had a real estate agent ask me on Thursday or Friday, she's done well, but then she had a bad year. She wants to increase her business. She called me about getting started in probate. We walked through her business, and I told her what she needed to do. Now, this was a free call. And she said, well, I was looking more for a more shotgunned approach to get my business going. And I know what she really meant was, I just really want to buy data and then mail out postcards and get 2 listings. Can't you just show me how to do that? And the answer is no, I don't think you really can do that. I don't think that's really an option today. I know the companies will sell you that dream, but I think it takes more than that, just mailing out postcards and waiting for the phone to ring. It's more than that. Now, can you mail postcards and then make phone calls while you wait for the phone to ring? Sure. I think Larry talked about that on last week's call. Should you make phone calls? Yeah. Should you also mail out? If it makes sense economically. But I'm going to tell you, you have to work on what works in this market and use those lenses to affect your business. Okay, I've talked quite a bit. I see a bunch of you put in your contact information. Thank you so much. Look forward to sharing with you guys and networking with you. I know personally I've had referrals outbound the last 90 days in 3 or 4 different states. I'm always looking to get more people. I also like to meet you and talk to you rather than just send out blindly. And then I love somebody put there, they love this return to the basics. Yeah, the truth is, I'll tell you this about me. whether you like it or not, that's where we're headed. I'm fine with it either way. And I'll say, there are a lot of people, we have to be clear about this, who need to get the decision to get out of this business quickly and get into something else. And I'm okay escorting them on to the next thing out of mercy and out of respect. I'm not here to gloat over them leaving, but the sooner they get onto something that's productive, the better. Don't pretend it's working. Don't come in this call and pretend that you're making a lot of money and not. I've got my challenges. I need to make more money this year for the life that I want and achieve my goals. I'm on a hunt for more listings. I'm on a hunt for more listing referrals. No make no mistake about it. And this one listing hasn't sold. And this one's dragging out a little bit. I mean, that's life. I'm working hard every day. I don't want to pretend as though it's all rainbow and unicorns for me either. I don't think it's for anybody right now. It's not going to be for the next 90 days. But if we work hard on our disciplines, we follow the rules and only do what's productive, all of us can be successful together and pull each other along. Okay, that's my soapbox for today. 12 minutes into it. This is supposed to be interactive. So if you have a question, unmute yourself, raise your hand, put in the chat box. I'd love to make this as interactive as possible. I love when you agree with me. I'm fine with you disagreeing with me. Let's have a discussion. If you think I'm wrong, jump right in here. Here's Shazam's iPad. He's going to tell us all how I'm wrong. Shazam, what's up?
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
So I got to change that. My name is Sean from New Jersey. I have a question. I just started a company and it's for like basically under the guidelines of consulting. Do I have to have business insurance? And if I don't, is it okay to just have a minor policy anyway? I mean, I don't know what it would be covering, but how do you guys do it?
For everybody, whether you're an investor, wholesaler, or a real estate agent, the question is always, what do you need it for? So for example, I got an SBA loan. The government was offering money at 2.75%. That's like free money in my book, but they require a certain type of insurance. So I had to have it. Some types of businesses to do business with you will require insurance. You have to have it. And then the next question is, and this gets a little personal, Sean, is what are you insuring? I mean, if you have assets, you have to insure them. If you don't have assets, you have to worry about it. I think that you don't want to go broke getting insurance if you don't have any assets. And if you have and there's ways to protect assets, houses and trusts and all those kinds of things. So that's more of a personal question. I don't think that you need insurance just to have insurance. My question to you would be, why do you think you need it? If you want to talk about it publicly, just keep in mind, this is being broadcast, on the internet. Why do you think you might need insurance? What are you insuring against?
I don't know. Bad advice.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
if you're ensuring that you might be sued for malpractice, now there's errors and omissions. There's no such thing as being sued for being an idiot or being sued for being wrong. There's being sued for errors and omissions. If you don't tell somebody something or you make some sort of mistake, but I don't think you're going to be sued just because you give somebody advice to buy property and they don't buy it or whatever it might be. So I think you have to think about. And then the second question is, what assets are you trying to protect?
I mean, I don't know what assets I would have in the business. There would be nothing. I feel like people would want to say like, oh, can I see, your proof of business registration and maybe like a declaration page, just so I know that you're like an official person or something. And then the second thing,
I have such a thing and nobody's ever asked me for it.
Okay, good. So you have insurance though.
I do. Again, SBA loan is required.
Okay, now that was my next question.
And I have assets. I have assets to protect. I have business assets to protect. So that were more than the loan amount. So for me, it wasn't frivolous, though I don't think I would have got it otherwise, but for the loan, but I had to get it.
Okay. Now the second question was, you just mentioned about the small business loan. Did you go through like the SBA, or is there local resources that you use? Do you use your EIN number to get funded? And then how do you, what are the things that you're asking for funding? I mean, office, a vehicle?
I did back when the COVID money, when they're just throwing money out. And I did, for me and my wife's business, both PPP loan and an EIDL loan. I mean, they were just giving money away. And I'm a taxpayer. I've never, I've never taken a handout of any sort. They're getting paid in interest, so that's what their job is. And the money was available, so I applied for both. And on the EIDL loan, they required insurance because you're insuring your assets of your business, your IP, your equipment, furniture, things like that. So they required it for that reason. And for me, at this point in my life, I have a business. I have assets that are worth something that are worth insuring. I don't need it. I practice I'm a broker, but I'm affiliated with eXp Realty. So I'm insured as a real estate agent through eXp. So I don't really need it for my real estate practice. It's more for my other business as an investor and the other businesses I have. Right. And I do have my business is in a corporation, so there's some protection there too, but nothing is guaranteed. And people, literally for the first time in my career, I was sued last month. Some idiot, we have 88,000 agents in our company, and one of the other agents did something wrong. We want to sue him for a listing agent. He didn't want to sue his brother, the buyer's agent, and he just Googled eXp Realty, found my name, and added me to the list of defendants. And I got off. The judge dismissed me right away. But you can be sued for anything. It's not going to protect you from being sued, but you may need to protect yourself. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Sean. Yep. And next hand up I see is Elizabeth. Elizabeth, what's going on?
Yeah, so real quick, I've been a nurse for over 10 years and I'm just starting investment. And I took the course for the probate expert. I'm still working on the referral part. And my question is, I'm trying to put my team together, looking for cleaners and just to be able to have all that ready before I go to court to go see how the procedure is done in my area. Then I can now go looking for probate lawyers. I'm just wondering if I'm on the right path as to getting all that done first before I start getting leads from all leads.
Yeah. No. So a couple things. Where do you live? What county are you in?
New Mexico, and it's Sandoval County.
What's the nearest major city? Is it near Albuquerque?
Albuquerque.
Okay. So I love the accent, by the way. You don't
Thank
sound
you.
like a native New Mexican to me, but
I'm originally from Ghana, West
I
Africa.
figured you sound like that with a little French in the background there. So one of the common mistakes people make is looking to build the team before they get to work. And I'm going to tell you, there's no way you'll ever build a team that'll be effective for you. You need to get the business. You are the team. See, if I said to you, Elizabeth, well, let me ask you a question. What do you think would be something somebody would ask you for that you need somebody in your team to fulfill that would be hard to fulfill?
Maybe someone trying to sell their assets, maybe the garage sales, selling the little things they have.
Like estate sales or
Still,
sales?
yes.
Okay, so that might be hard for you. If I said to you, Elizabeth, I'm going to give you $1 million if you can find a great estate sales solution. It's now 12:20 Pacific time in 2 hours. Could you do it?
I will.
Yeah. So you have to get that you are the team. Now, like any team, you have team members, teammates. You can draft in new team members, just like, I don't know if you follow sports, if you're on the Ghana national soccer team, they bring players in all the time, but there's one Ghana national soccer team. But they bring in players all the time. You're the Elizabeth real estate team, and you're going to bring in players and they're going to come and go. And just like in football, some make it, some don't, some come in, they get old, they get rid of them. That's your team. But we don't wait to build your team. We business develop all the time. Now, that said, you can use the activities of building your team to build your business. What do I mean by that? One person I would love to meet would be an estate salesperson in your area. If I were you, I would call on the phone and say, hey, I'm Elizabeth. I'm a real estate investor here in the Albuquerque area. And I know that from time to time, I'll find properties that need an estate sale. I'd just like to learn about you and how you do business and maybe how we can help each other promote our business. Maybe you put a post on your social media about them. Maybe you do what I do and you video an interview and post that. So that's part of your business development, is meeting these team members. But I would look at that as business development, promoting their business, because if they got in maybe 3 new estate sales, they might have 1 investment opportunity for you that way, right? We're not building it to get business. We're building to help them, knowing if they get more business, we get more business. So I would look at your building your team not from a requirement. I can't get a deal until I have my team built out, because it will never be built out. The rest of your business career, you're always looking to add new team members, upgrade team members, add new positions. That's part of your business development. That makes sense?
Okay. Yeah. And then another thing is, like, I have Airbnb and I have a little website as well. And looking at the probate one, I guess looking at the cost, you can have all the leads make a website for you, or right? So my question is, can I have that probate website kind of incorporated with what I have already? Or it has to be, do I have to also get that before I guess I just don't know where to start from. That's my problem.
Okay, so Elizabeth, if you called me on the phone and said, hey,
Yes.
Bill, I'm Elizabeth, I'm in Albuquerque. I'm an investor. Do you have any property that you might need to sell in Albuquerque? I said, it's funny, you call me, I happen to have one. I don't need a website, do I?
No.
I don't need your team, do I? Now, if I said
Okay.
to you, Elizabeth, you sound like a nice lady, maybe I'd work with you, maybe not. You might, but I'm not ready to make a decision. Call me back next week. You might send me an email afterwards. Hey, Bill, nice meeting you. Here's a link to my website. Or maybe a friend on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Hey, Bill, nice talking to you. And then you post to your website and I'll see it. So I think that it's nice to have, but those are accoutrements. Those are extras that you reinvest your money into your business. Don't wait. If you can't go out and get people to talk to you for free or buying data and calling them, you can't do one of those two. Then it's going to be very hard for you. There's no amount of money you're ever going to spend that's going to generate business for you.
Okay.
So that's
So
how
the
business
best thing is
development-
to start calling and get the leads and start calling and then go from there.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Thank you.
Whatever it is that you're going to do to lead generate. Now, one way is to call them. Another one is to network with people. In my case, pre-COVID, I went to court every day. Now I can't do that because there's a lot less people, so I don't do that. I'm not saying you can't, I'm not saying you shouldn't, I'm not. Maybe in Albuquerque, there's more people in court than there is now, or enough to make it make sense for you. Certainly it's good for learning. I would go to court once in a while to learn if I were you.
Okay.
So I think that you need to think out, how are you meeting people so you can do business with? You can meet them on the phone, you can door knock them, you can go to events where they're at. You got to figure that out. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Okay, next up is Daniel Brenner, Realtor. Daniel, what is up?
Hello, how are you? I'm sorry, just kind of getting over getting sick, so I sound kind of nasally, but I launched my probate business like 2 months ago, and cold calling was going perfectly. I feel like I like to think that I have a high degree of emotional intelligence and empathy, but I noticed I purchased leads from all the leads, and this last batch, I would say 80% of them are widows. And I had a horrible experience calling them. Now, granted, I only called them the widows this last week, but I reached out to a friend who is a widow and I kind of explained what I was doing. And he's like, I don't care who you are. If you called me, even like 3 to even 6 months after the death of my wife, I don't know anyone could ever get through to me.
Well,
And
hold on one second. Hold on one second.
Yeah.
This person you talked to is a widow. Did he file probate?
My friend, no, I think
Here's the difference.
Yeah.
The people you're calling filled out the documents and filed them with court or hired an attorney to file probate,
Mhm.
right? So it might be true for him. And there are people who don't file probate for 6 months or a year because they're so distraught.
Mhm.
But that's different than the person who fills out the probate, number one. Where do you sell real estate?
North Dallas. I'm in a very affluent area, like the median price is 565. And so even what I've had an issue with is everyone's like, I have my affairs covered. Now I just thought about this. The widows I called that were women,
Yeah.
I would say like 50% of them were crying, and I just like kind of just gave them comfort.
Okay, so give me some numbers. How many
Yeah.
people do you talk to?
I've only had 2 batch of leads. So I've only done, I guess, and I got 165 the first time, 150 the second time.
And how many have you talked to?
The second time I talked to about half of them.
So 100, you talked to 80 or so?
Yeah.
And of the 80, how many were widows?
A lot of them.
40, 60?
50, like over half.
And,
Yeah.
okay, 50. And of the 50, they're all crying?
A lot of them, it just went straight to like left a voicemail.
That's different.
Yeah.
The ones you talk to, how many did you actually
Well-
talk to?
Ooh, in the teens.
Do you track this?
I mark if this is someone I shouldn't even send a letter to, this is someone I should send a letter to. So I have like my own little,
Okay,
yeah.
so I did a piece on this call a few months ago on phone prospecting. Most important thing is tracking your numbers.
Mhm.
So I asked you a couple specific questions. How many people you talk to? Doesn't matter how many you dial. You could dial 10,000. The question is how many you talk to per hour, right? Number one. Number two, I'm trying to get down to, well, how many widows do you talk to that were crying?
Well, the females, I just realized this, the females were more open for me calling. They were emotional. All of them were emotional. The men were the ones that, the male widows who lost their wife, they were the only ones Now I just thought of this as I'm talking to you publicly. It was the men who definitely, like, one of them said they're going to take their
Well,
attorney. and come
hold on
after
here.
you.
No, so you keep going back to the whole story.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be, this is a business. Now, I don't want to shortchange you if you need some therapeutic help or some psychological, and you might, maybe this is affecting you negatively. And I'm not
Yeah.
discounting that. It might be real for you. My job here is just the business side. So forgive me.
Mhm.
That's what I'm doing for the call.
Mhm.
But what I'm trying to get down is, well, how many people, you said everybody was crying on the phone, and we get down to, but you didn't talk to that many. And the ones you talk to, well, some are men, some are women. And I think that you're telling yourself something that's different than your actual experience. So I would get down to, how many people do you actually talk to of all those? Of those, how many were actually crying? Because I can't believe it was more than two. I've not talked to more than two in my entire career that cried. Now, that said, maybe I'm not as sensitive as you are. Maybe I'm not as predisposed to encourage them to go down the path as you are. Though on the phone, when I talk to customers, I think I'm pretty sensitive. I've been
Mhm.
doing this for a while. But if you believe they're all going to be a crying, sniveling ball of mess when you call them all, you're more likely to experience that than I am, because I figured they filed a probate, they need some help. I'm here to help them. I'm not here to take from them. I'm not here to cheat them. I'm not here to rip them off. I'm here because if they listen to their agent, they're going to lose. They're going to lose money, time, effort, energy. And I'm here to help them. And if they don't want to talk to me that ready, that's fine. I can respect that. But I think you really need to break down your numbers, because I've tried to pin you down a few times here, and I don't want to beat you up over it.
You're
I
good.
want to make to you the point clear that your language is different than the numbers you're actually getting. And I think you're creating a story in your head. Now you're anticipating, looking for a situation, because in my experience, unless North Dallas has some unique monopoly on crying widows and widowers, which I don't think is true. I've been to North Dallas numerous times in my life. It doesn't seem that different than the rest of America. There's some
I
differences.
know that. I mean, I also know that holidays are a weird time. You know,
I think that's another part. I think you put the story together. That,
projecting.
yeah, I don't think that's true. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I mean, you could say a lot of people are off of work. They have more time to deal with things. I don't know. I don't know that's true. It's not been my experience, but I think you're looking for a story to tell yourself. And I would say to you, urge you to do the following. For everybody who makes phone calls, you need to count your contacts per hour. So what I do is I'm old school. I have a pad of paper. I put the date and the time of the hour, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. And a little stick man I put for each contact. I don't count dials. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Count the contacts and appointments set. That's all that really matters.
Perfect.
By the way,
Yeah.
just again, to look at your language, I'm not here to put you down. I just want
You're good.
you to draw
Yeah.
attention to how you're using your language to create obstacles. Where I live in my neighborhood, you can't buy a house and tear it down for less than $1.3 million.
Mhm.
So affluence is relative. It's also state of mind.
Okay.
And if you keep telling yourself it's affluent, to me, it's like you're saying, well, it's a little out of reach for me, but I'm reaching for it. Well, maybe it is, maybe it's not. It is
Okay.
if you think it is.
Okay. I'm very open for feedback. I'm not like sensitive. I just want to, I'm developing my image in the community. So I just want to make sure I start off right. That's why I'm just opening up dialogue about it. I guess the only objection, and I think that they addressed this in Probate Mastery, and I probably need to go over objections again, but I just get a lot of everything is settled. We have
Sure.
all affairs. How do you handle that objection again?
Sure. So again, this is I've covered before, but it's good to redo this from time to time. So the first thing I would say is all objections at their core are the same. All right. If you go back to the fundamentals of communication, all communication is one of two things. It's either an expression of love or cry for help.
Hmm.
So is it an expression of love? No, it's a cry for help. It's a subtle cry. You got to hear it. That when people say I'm good, that's a standard objection in every sales experience you'll ever have. Before I was in probate, I did expired listings, and people would say, oh yeah, we're going to relist with the same agent. That was a standard response. That's a standard common objection you would get. If you talk to 40 people a day, you'd get 5 of those, 10 of those. If you talk to 40 probate people a day, you're going to get 20 were all goods and 10 were doing it on our own and whatever. There's a variety you're going to get of your objections, what I call standard objections. All objections we handle with 3 steps. Number 1, we never argue with them. We repeat their objection. So if we're role playing, I say, Daniel, I'm Bill Gross, I'm a real estate broker specialist helping probate families like yours. I was calling to see how I can be of assistance. And you said to me, oh, Bill, thanks for calling. I'm all good. I'd repeat that, say, oh, you're all good. Step 2, affirm. Make your answer sound okay with me. I'm not arguing with you. I'm not putting you down. I'm just affirming that's what you said. The biggest complaint people have with salespeople is no one listens to us. So if I said to you, Daniel, I'm Bill Gross, blah, 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 and you said, I'm all good, I'd say, okay, you're all good. That's great. Then third is what we call the objection handler, which is another question designed to open the conversation. Because think about it this way, Daniel, isn't it true that every single probate family in North Dallas is fine if you never make your phone calls? I mean, if you disappeared from the world tomorrow, if aliens snatched you, or God forbid you died, or you won the lottery and never made these phone calls, they're going to live without you, right? You're calling to make it better. Your job is to explain to them how you're making it better. Selling isn't telling, selling is asking questions. You have to ask a question. That's fantastic. I noticed there's a property here in whatever, Red Bluff. I'm curious, you guys plan on selling the property or keeping it as a rental? You ask whatever you can with the goal of opening up a dialogue to see you're looking for their problems or where you can offer a solution. So you have to be able to ask that next question, just keep walking through that. There's a exercise I've done in the past many times, I recommend. It's called the question game. It's where you ask your partner a question. They repeat, affirm, and ask a question back. It's like ping pong. Then it comes back to you. And then you answer, repeat, affirm, and ask a question. And then they repeat, you go back and forth asking questions. And so you get to a point where you have the person who asked the question has control of the conversation. Your goal is to develop a conversation to find how you can help them. That's sales. Everybody has stock answers. Sellers don't get together and practice their questions. We need to practice our response. So that's why you role play with people, or the more calling you do, the better you'll get at it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Fantastic, Daniel. Thanks so much. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So Kat put in a chat box, by the way, you guys should not miss this. She put a link to a post she put on how to get data. And there's ways you get data for free. I would definitely check in the Zoom chat, in the meeting chat, take a look at her post. And I read that yesterday. That was really good stuff. Okay. Who else has a question, challenge, problem, victory you want to share, a defeat you want to share? Anybody? I'll just share with you. I had this discussion with Chad yesterday, and we're talking about, he's kind of relooking his whole program and how do we, how rather than just add or subtract, kind of redesigning from the top. What should it look like to make sure all the pieces fit? We talked about where this call fit. And I said to Chad, I was coming as a participant, and then he had some personal issues that took him away from it. And he asked me to step in as at the time, temporary host. And I said, yes. And I told him at the time, and I repeated to him yesterday, the reason is I need this. Now, I mean, I know I've grossed over $300,000, over $350 each year, the last 3 years of commissions on top of other revenue through my businesses. And I'm off to a great start this year. I'm not starving. I'm making good money, more than most. I'm the top 1% of my company. I'm top 1% of the business, I'm sure. But I need this every week. I need to be challenged. I need to be pushed. I need to be encouraged. I need to see people pushing through. I think you do too. And part of what we need is to interact. So I would just urge you all, bring something of value here every week of some sort. Bring in a victory, bring a tool you're using, bring something that you're doing that can help other people. Because together, we're going to go a lot further than any of us are going to individually. Okay, there you go. Shari Capers, hands up. Let's get you in here. What's going on, Shari?
Hey, how's it going, Bill?
Oh, great.
So I can tell you, I have 2 probate leads that came through my website. I have a substantial amount of information about probate on my main page. And I also have that I'm a probate specialist in my signature when I send out emails. And I think I have like books that I pass out, talk to lawyers. So it's so much that we could do to generate probate leads. And then I was thinking, I was about to put in the chat, maybe hang out with the funeral homes, but I'm a happy-go-lucky person and I don't want to be all depressed. But I did think of ways of approaching funeral directors and give them my card to establish a rapport with them. So I just think outside, I told you this before, I'm like an outside of the box thinking type person. So for me with probate, even on LinkedIn, I was putting, if you go to my LinkedIn, well, I took it off and put something else up, but needless to say, at one time for a long period, I had that I was a probate specialist on my LinkedIn page, and I was able to get a lead that I'm still working with. Both of the parents have died, so I'm just giving him a space, but he approached me or reached out to me to ask me information about probate. So I sent him the probate process, and I have like this chart. I sent him the probate process. I sent him like a list of different vendors, and the ball is just at his court right now.
Sure.
So
Where do you sell real estate?
What did you say? I'm sorry.
Where do you sell real estate?
I'm out in Atlanta, Georgia, outskirts of Powder Springs.
Okay. Is that north or south of Atlanta?
West. I'm in West Cobb.
Okay. I have a friend I have a team member who's in Athens, going the other way, going east.
Oh, yes.
So what you're saying is you got business by putting on your website, you got some leads, putting on your LinkedIn, in your signature.
Right.
So imagine if you did more than that, might more people, like if you posted more social media on LinkedIn, might more people see your profile.
Right.
If you put more content on your web page and post it in social media, I don't know where you're active on Instagram or Facebook or
I'm like all over the place. And even on Instagram for a long period of time, I had probate specialists on there as well. And I probably start doing, I'm like a TikToker, so I'll probably start uploading more videos on TikTok discussing the probate process. So it's just really getting out there. One thing I do know, it's not overnight process. It's a process. It's not going to happen overnight.
Right.
So you really have to put the time in, and like what you were saying, but you have to put the time in, because probate leads, just from what I've experienced, it takes a while.
Well,
But
also,
and they watch it when you don't think they're watching. They are actually watching what you're putting up, even though they may not respond. Probate, from my thing is, probate leads or potential people that need a probate specialist, they're watching your content, even though they may not respond to what you have. They are watching, because the person that I'm telling you about from LinkedIn, I had been posting stuff for about 6 months, and he actually told me he had been watching the content that I put up. So
what if you put up 10 times the content? What do you think might happen?
I'll get 10 times the visibility and 10 times opportunities of getting more probate listings.
And 10 times more
Money. But
look at that smile. Look at that smile. Woo! That was worth the whole phone call. But that's all of us. I think, that's why I said Grant Cardone is my coach, because I think at the end of the day, once you find a process, now some people might say, well, that's a lot of work. Yeah, it's a lot of work. Yeah. Just cut out the rest and do that. I'm sure if I followed you around all day long, you do a lot of stuff that you shouldn't do, you could put more time on that. And also repurpose content you have. You have a website, you could take one little section of your website every day and you could post it in text format, you could read it and do a video. There's a lot of different ways you can repurpose that content.
see, now you have me thinking about doing a probate video today. I'll do a video in a minute. So I made you a TikTok video today on probate. That's what I'm gonna do.
I do a YouTube short every day, and we're posting at least one YouTube mid or long form every single day. A lot. I heard Gary Vaynerchuk say, smother your prospects with your content.
Right. And I also, my CRM is LionDesk, so I was able to put my content and send out emails and videos with LionDesk. So to me, LionDesk is the best CRM, because you could put them in categories, you could do videos. LionDesk allows you to make calls off of LionDesk platform. So all of those things work. It's just that it's time consuming, because, as you know, Bill, my hand is in commercial. I mean, I'm just in different things, but I will make the time to put more into probate again, especially with me getting these leads that just came across my desk. Like I literally just got them like a couple of days ago.
Good. Keep on, Shari. Thanks for sharing with us.
You're welcome.
Okay. And next hand up is Erik. Erik, what's going on with you?
Bill, how are you this fine day?
Doing great.
Sorry, I'm driving right now, so I'm going to try to focus between the screen and the road. No offense to you, but headed to the gym right now, actually. Headed to the gym. So I'm up here in Michigan. I've been investing full-time for 17 years and been a pretty active probate buyer for the last 12. And I've noticed for like the last 3 years, it's been getting very saturated, a little bit tougher to be the value add component when contacting probates. And when I was running my numbers for 2022, it occurred to me how many properties were on my probate list that when we did like a list stacking evaluation, they also came up as vacants. Now, 3 years ago, we began to realize that many of the properties that we were finding while driving for dollars were also on our probates list. So we began to split test reaching out to people as just a vacant property, trying to buy it, versus as from the probate aspect of, hey, we can help. We have a team of resourceful people that, that can help with this process. I closed 4 probate deals that were on our probate list versus 16 that were also probates, but on a vacant list. And I just cannot figure out what the dynamic, what's the difference in the dynamic between, it just seemed like when we reached out and tried to provide value, we got all the common responses. Our attorney's taking care of it. The property's not for sale. We're keeping it. Right. And I feel that we're really, really good at follow-ups, but it seemed like when we reach out to people asking to purchase, their vacant property, there was no barrier there like there was with probate. So I'm trying to figure out, like, what is the dynamic of, I'm sure it's a self-limiting belief, although I want to believe it's humanity that's just really guarded. When somebody tries to offer them help, it's got to be too good to be true, shut them down. But I just thought that was really interesting when I ran my numbers for last year. And although they were on my probate list, we closed them a lot easier because we reached out to them as a vacant property. And I'm trying to find some clarity with that, because I'd love to help more people with their probate issues, because it's really painful seeing people get raked over the coals by attorneys, fighting with their families, letting a property sit for longer than it needs to because they're overwhelmed trying to clear out the contents. But it seems like once we try to mention that, we get shut down.
When you contact the vacant properties that you sold as probates, were they already in probate? You just approached them as vacant? Or
correct.
Oh, okay. Because I get a lot of
100%
investors,
of the time.
I have a lot of investors who approach vacant proproperties and then discover it needs to be a probate down the road. That's a different animal.
Yes. No, these are already open in probate.
Well, I think you're making, I think based on your data and your market, you should first approach them as vacant properties, and your marketing should be as vacant properties. The fact that they're in probate, you may know that and be on the lookout for that and offer your assistance as helping. But what you're telling me is, to those people, their problem of a vacant home is bigger than the problem of a probate. Okay.
Absolutely. Correct.
I mean, I appreciate how big a problem the probate is. And frankly, I think the probate's a bigger problem. It's no problem to open and file a probate. That's the easy part. People think, oh yeah, I can download the forms and fill them out and send them in. Well, that's easy. It's getting the court to accept that and appoint you. And then along the way to verify the steps along the way. And at the end to get the counting right. That's all the hard part, is that all the, machinations. It's kind of like, it's easy to get your real estate license compared to making money as a real estate investor or a real estate agent. So people's perceptions may be way off. They might know they have a problem and you're calling them before they realize it.
So from an emotionless, just make money and move on to the next deal, like as far as I'm concerned, whether it's a probate or a vacant deal, it's same stuff, different address. Yeah. The frustrating part to me is I'm human. Like I do care. I want to help. And I feel like, I've got the website, I've got the team, I've got the resources, I've got the vendors. I feel like I've spent so much time, and that's where the scalability actually comes in, is being able to scale the probate side of the business. But it's just been really tough getting traction there. Now, if I just take off my hat and I'm like, hey, same stuff, different address, I don't care, it's all profit, I don't care if it's, vacant, pre-foreclosure, whatever, then it's just a numbers game at that point. But again, I would really like to scale. I actually visualize a storefront for my probate company, but I'm just not getting the traction that I want there. And when it comes to vacants, we find the list driving for dollars, we skip trace, we text. We don't have a website. We don't have this crazy training. It's very emotionless and very simple, but it's not scalable either. So again, I'm just trying to figure out, like, what is the missing link? That are we pressing too hard? Is our sequence, are we setting the wrong expectation? Where are we going wrong, in reaching out to people trying to offer assistance in where they're overwhelmed at?
Bill, I have a question for you and Erik.
Okay.
So this list for the vacants, how long is it in comparison to your list that you're getting for probate?
So probates are pulled weekly and generally contacted. So we send the letter out the very next day of receiving the probate records, and then we call them within 7 days. And when it comes to the vacants, if we drive for a list, we're generally collecting more addresses by driving for dollars than we are by pulling lists. We have better luck with lists that we're able to drive and find and build ourselves than we do with ones that we're able to just go to PropStream or ListSource and buy them directly from there. So it's still within the first, we're contacting them immediately. How long has the property been sitting vacant? That's a wild card. Many times we don't know that.
Right.
But as far as the probate, we're contacting them within 10 days. Great question though.
Yeah, look, obviously you're finding there's a scientific answer to it that we need to figure out. And it probably lies in the fact that you drive by a property, by its physical nature, they need help and they need to do something with it. Whereas in probates, many cases, that's not the case. They either somebody's living there and they're fine keeping it, spouse is living there, she's fine keeping it. They're going to sell it, but they think they have plenty of time to deal with it. They think they have money coming in. Whereas a vacant property, more often, that's not it. You're saying it's the same. You're getting a subset of vacant properties, but that might be the subset they're easier to work with and they're more anxious to work with. Look, there's a certain percentage of the population that wants to do things on their own. And so when you call them up, they say they don't need you and they're going to do it on their own. They're going to hire their own attorney. They're going to get their own realtor. They're going to sell the property on their own. And it sounds like those people are self-selecting out by probate when you call them there, if you're calling the same people. But I still hear what the problem is. It sounds to me, the solution is always talking to more people.
Correct. I would agree.
If you're calling them as a vacant and they happen to be a probate, my guess is somewhere along the line, the questions of probate come up and you handle them well enough that it looks like a vacant property to you that happens to be probate, but that's really what probate should be. It doesn't have to be a whole big drama.
I would agree. Yeah.
So I don't know what the problem is. I think everybody should, if you know the property is vacant, approach it both ways until you get people. I don't think there's anything wrong with, I call it two bites of the same apple. You calling it as a vacant property, you're calling it as a probate, and it doesn't matter which one works. I don't think you should care.
Okay. Yeah. So the emotionless business guy just says, yeah, same stuff, different address. Who cares what the presets of the lead are? Just close the deal and get it done. But the human side of me,
I wouldn't go there with it. I would just say they apparently, when you call vacants, somewhere along the line, they have to say to you it's a probate, right? They have to say it was my father's property and I filed probate, and you're like, okay, that's fine. Like,
they're pretty nonchalant. They're pretty nonchalant about it, actually. I think you kind of hit it right on the head, where the vacant property poses a bigger problem for them than the probate does,
or at least in their perceptions at that time.
Correct. Yeah.
Because the probate might be later.
And most of them are further enough into probate where they really wouldn't need my services. The properties are largely cleaned out. They're ready to sell the property at the time of contact. In most instances, I want to say it was like either 10 or 12 of the instances, the probate was several years old and the property was literally just sitting there. They chose to do nothing about the situation.
I see that all the time. Biggest mistake people make in probate.
It's so frustrating.
They want to wait until all that's done and then they want to file the probate. It's like, because in this is part of the seduction of the real estate industry press. They think they can just clean out the house and fix it up and sell it and get more money. And they don't, unlike a business person, they're not counting the carrying cost and even the opportunity cost of carrying cost. Of course, rates are low today, but you can put the money in the bank and you don't lose the money. You have to pay for insurance, you're paying property taxes either way. And then you also run the risk of some squatter breaking into property. I've had people, I had one last week where, 2 weeks ago, she's fine and she's taking her time. And last week she called me in tears because these squatters came in her house. She can't get them out now. Now she's got a major problem. So I think that I wouldn't worry about it. And you keep going to not caring emotionally. No, I think you should care emotionally.
I care. I do care.
I know you do, but I'm just saying, I don't think it's heartless to not talk about a problem until it comes up. And my guess is when it comes up, you handle the problem, whatever it is. My guess is if you're handling a vacant property, at some point you look at the attorney, you look at the case, you look at the paperwork, you figure out either they know what they're doing or they don't. If they don't, you're going to help them find a different attorney or resolve the problem and move on. I don't think I think it's great to contact them both ways. I think it's smart marketing.
So I want to throw this last tidbit out there, is that I had a property that I've been chasing down for 4 years that's vacant, part of an estate. And I've been in communication with the seller, and he's like, Erik, I don't mind you contacting me, but I have no intentions of selling my property. This has been going on for 4 years. He contacted me 3 days before Christmas, and I was so shocked to receive a call from him.
Right.
And during that conversation, he said, Erik, the reason why I didn't care about selling this property for the last several years is my equity went up every single year. And I don't care whether it was rented. I don't care if it was getting dilapidated.
Right.
All I had to do is sit back and my property went up X amount of percent every year.
Sure.
Now the market's stagnating a little bit.
Yeah.
Now it's a problem to me. And I'm like, it was a 2x4 to the head moment that that's what I'm going to start telling sellers. In the past 5 years, you didn't have to do nothing but sit back and watch your equity grow. Now,
No, actually,
you're
the
losing
last 5
money.
years you got paid to watch, to not
Correct.
do anything. Now it's
Correct.
costing you money. Every month is costing you money. And I would
Absolutely.
have projections are showing, according to who was I saw last week, Case Schiller, they're expecting prices to go down next year 10 to 15%. So the house
Yeah.
is worth $4,000 is going to go down $40,000. How much of that 40,000 do you want to burn?
Sure.
All
Sure.
of it.
And-
Keep it for another
and-
year. Half of it. Let's get it sold by 6 months.
And what that triggered me to do is I remember 2 of the deals that I had bought long ago, back in the foreclosure days when I started doing probates very heavily. I remember those people telling me their biggest regret was not selling when the market was up and waiting until everything crashed. So I reached out to them, asked them if they would reignite a testimonial for me so I can put that out there and let people know, like, now is your chance to capture that equity. Every week or month that you wait into 2023 and beyond is going to be a regret for you. So I know you probably got other people waiting to.
Well, I just want to wrap up and say that once you've talked to somebody, you should call them back every 90 days forever. A no is just a no for today. That eventually everybody sells a house. There aren't too many houses in America have not been sold in the last 100 years. I'm not sure what your career timeline is. Maybe it's 20 or 30, but 99% of houses you talk to are going to be sold at some point. Just because they say no today doesn't mean it won't be no, won't be yes in 3 months, 6 months, or 4 years. Okay.
Beautiful.
Good,
Beautiful.
Erik, thank you so much for your time. And what part of Michigan are you in again?
I'm just north of Detroit in Macomb in Oakland County.
And I think also it might be a function of you being in a less competitive probate market maybe than Atlanta Metro, LA Metro. I imagine
Sure.
Detroit, this city is different than suburban areas. So that's also part of it, I
Yes.
think, as well.
I appreciate you, Bill. Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Thanks, man. Thanks so much. Okay, let's try to get in. I got 2 more, Joyce and then Roger. You guys been waiting patiently. Joyce, what's up? You unmuted here.
I'm gonna mute me again.
Joyce, you're still muted. you
Sorry. I have a client who doesn't have the money to clear out the house
Mhm.
to sell it.
Mhm.
And I know that you talked about probate cash.
Mhm.
And I was wondering, how do I go about getting them?
So in general, you can borrow money in Orange County, generally about $10,000 is the minimum, and use that for whatever they want. Legal fees, move out fees, cleanup fees, attorneys for renter fees. And there's companies offer that service. Chad's interviewed a couple on this channel. I have my own company. I broker it out because what I found was none of the companies were good enough service for my service. So basically I have an intake form and I route it to the various companies to get them to pre-approve a file and then bring it back to my customer when it's pre-approved by one of the companies. So you can just reach out to any of them, or Joyce, if you want to offline, send me an email or text. I'd be more glad to have an intake form and just give me the information and we'll pre-approve it. And if we can get them money, we'll get to them within a couple of days.
Great, I will do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Ray. And last but certainly not least, and last but not least, Roger Lisi, what's up?
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I was going to respond to Erik's concerns of not getting an answer or getting short answers to his about the property, and he goes back and tries to talk about the property. I think that what I have found whenever I find those kind of invisible blocks to talk about the property, I've found that to start talking about the family or asking questions about the family and the processes that the family is going through in doing that, connecting with the executor and finding out who else is involved in the estate and finding answers to do that. And that kind of breaks up the ice, and you come back and work into the challenges challenges that they're facing right now, or if they're not, or if they will. But I find that trying to develop a connection to the executor and the family and any of the challenges that he may have, and working and then backing up and then coming back into the property at a later time in a different conversation. That's what works for me. That's the only thing I had to say on Eric's challenge of getting the big block of, I'm not going to talk to you about this today. That's what I found it works. When you start talking about the family, sometimes they'll start talking about, and to the other side of something somebody mentioned was during the holidays is really a tough time to talk to people about that. When somebody starts just getting muddled up, there's somebody missing at Christmas, there's somebody not at the Thanksgiving table that has been in the past year or so. It's really a tough time, and coming back and stepping back and trying to find a connection and consolation in their bereavement sometimes works for me.
Well, good. Hey, look, I don't disagree with anything you said, Roger. I just think sometimes we start creating stories that we put on our prospects before they even express them. And I think the first call I had today, that was the case. It certainly is true. Some people are mostly upset when we call them, and we have to be sensitive to that and appropriate. But I would say, and that's, we're on a call with 50 people, most of whom have never called anybody, and most of them aren't going to make the phone calls because they're scared, and their fear is unfounded because the vast majority of people are emotionally ready to talk about probate because they filed probate. It's true, some aren't, and Roger, you being skilled, you're attentive to that and deal with it. And I think we all are human beings, and we have to pay attention to it. My concern is we can make that seem more common than it is, and then use that as an excuse not to make phone calls, and then not give people good service, which at the end of the day harms them as much as being insensitive. So I don't disagree with you, but again, for anybody on the call, I would say, I don't think it's that common. I've not had 2 people in my last 4 years of doing this cry on the phone about the deceased. The opposite, many times they can't stand the person who passed, but they're cleaning up the mess. And that's much more common for me than people crying about it. But again, I think it's going to vary based on your market. Just don't, again, I don't disagree with you, Roger. I would just say don't create problem where there isn't one, or assume there's a problem where there isn't one. Okay? Great. Hey, Roger, thank you for jumping in. Appreciate it. And I think for the rest of us, I think we're going to wrap it up. Let me share a couple of free resources with you before we wrap up. ProbateMastery.com is the website, and that's Chad Corbett is our head coach. And on there are the key to the whole kingdom. The Probate Mastery program is where you can become a certified probate expert. You earn courses more advanced for getting referrals from attorneys. If you go to the top also, there's the podcast. That's what this is. There's the home and the different episodes and the playlists and so on. Referral directory, make sure you're in the referral directory. Another free service is the Estate Professionals Mastermind group in Facebook. We have 6,000 members there. And Kat, our second favorite person on the team, besides me, after me, is on here and put some great content in here, definitely worth paying attention to. And today she talked about the call, so you should repost here perhaps that data post you talked about in the chat box. And then for those who are graduates, there's the Probate Mastery Alumni, 1,600 members. I tend to go there because I'm an alumni of the program, and it tends to be a little more higher level discussions for people already in the program and picking up on it and taking advantage of the opportunities there. So those are some free resources that are available to you. We do this call every Tuesday, 12 noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern time. I'm Bill Gross. It's been a pleasure working with you. We do record this. It's on the ProbateMastery.com website, and hope to see you here next week as well. Thanks to everybody who's on the call today. I really appreciate your help.